Name is Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I'm entrepreneur and coach. I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I come to you live on Wednesdays, um, Las Vegas time, Pacific Standard Time, West Coast time, 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe for free at your favorite platform. We have the main platform over at YouTube. Shout out to YouTube, as well as on other places. And you can also get my book, The Complete Greenworth Collection, my 27th book. It's available at fine stores everywhere, as well as at damebrown.net. It actually includes my some of my most recent best-selling books, including The Bite Size Entrepreneur, The Ultimate Bite Size Entrepreneur, Bring Your Worth, which of course started this whole TV show, as well as my personal favorite, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. If you're interested in hearing the audiobook of it, of course, you can get the audiobook at any platform that you're interested in, even the indie platforms. Check them out. I think you can also rent them at the library. I try to set up the platform since it's an independently published book. Try to set up so that you guys can do it that way. But if you're overseas or you're traveling or you can't get to audiobooks as a service to y'all, the link is right there where you can watch it, specifically listen to it live. It's about 8 hours long. It contains, again, some of my best business books, and I hope it's supportive to y'all and help y'all get to the next level. If you want to support the show, you can also subscribe on other platforms. Shout out to y'all on Twitch. If you know my history, you know I used to be a hardcore gamer. I used to write for a lot of the major gaming magazines, even did a book or two about video games. So I appreciate y'all over there. I remember y'all we're not called Twitch, but you went from a couple of different names. So shout out to my time in Silicon Valley. You can subscribe over there, watch live right now. Or if you're more into Spotify, you can listen to as well as watch some of the classic episodes over on Spotify. You subscribe over there. If you missed it, last Sunday, one of my favorite episodes actually had a rebirth. It's 3 ways to break into the creative industry. If you've been a long time watcher, then you know I did a series where I talked about 3 different ways that you can make an impact in your creative industry. The first example I did about 2 years ago now, as of us being live right now, and that was featuring Michael Jackson, Prince, and Jay Z. Rest in peace to MJ as well as to Prince. And then about a year ago, and if you're into hip hop, you know what the update was going to be. I did the big three hip hop folks right now, doing that with Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and of course, Drake. It was amazing to see the symmetry between and the rivalry with MJ and Prince, and then much later on Jay Z, who of course worked with MJ for H to the Izzo, and then was familiar with Prince and actually talked with Prince. He actually talked about that in his song Eyes Wide, I believe it's called, something like that, on his last album 444. If you're a Jay Z fan, and he talks about the conversations he had with Prince, which had to do with ownership, which is why you see so many conversations about Prince's work on Bring Your Worth TV. It is not a music channel. Some of y'all believe it is. It's not a music channel, but you can see, patron saint Coltrane as well as Miles Davis in the background. And shout out to James Baldwin, of course. Really into music, but music is a great example of if you don't own your stuff and end up signing stuff, and then the stuff that's of your sweat and your blood, your creations, you're not going to be able to own them. Their pathways were so similar, and it was so amazing to put the two conversations together. Ends up being a 20-minute video, and there's always already some good comments from y'all and personal messages from y'all that you really appreciate the video. If you happen to miss the very first video talking about that a couple years ago, as far as different ways that you can break into that particular creative industry, or if you only caught the one that came out a year ago at the height of the beef with J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar, then you definitely want to catch this episode. It's available right now. It came out Sunday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be sure and check it out. And some breaking news. My guy, Brendan O'Mara, you know I appreciate you. I love you. This book literally just came in the mail. My guy's first super, super major book, The Front Runner, The Life of Steve Prefontaine. They just call him Pre. I was about to call him Pre, but I don't know him like that. He was someone who revolutionized, you can tell by the black and white picture and by his hair, he revolutionized running back in the 70s. One of the inspirations for how Nike came together. He was based over in the greater Portland, Oregon area, just like my guy Brendan. I know he's been working on this behind the scenes. It's gotten excellent reviews. I'm not just hyping up because this is my guy. Got excellent reviews. I believe it was a star review, but at minimum, it was an excellent review in Publishers Weekly. If you know, you know. Shout out to him. I think the launch date was yesterday. If you're watching this live, it just came out again. It just came in the mail for me. Shout out to bookshop.org too. The link is right there, and you can go ahead and get it from bookshop.org, which is actually we'll get the book from indie publishers, or I'm sorry, indie bookstores from all around the country. So I already have my store as far as um, with bookshop.org linked up to local bookstores in Las Vegas. So I got this from a local bookstore in Las Vegas. Just because you're getting it online, which we're going to talk about today, it doesn't mean you don't support the indie folks. Shout out to my man Brendan. I literally just got in the mail as I was walking in to do this episode. Cannot wait to read it. Again, it's the front runner, Brendan O'Mara. That's all you need to know. If you're interested in running culture and so forth, that's part of your thing. Also, I know Brendan not only because we're in similar circles with writing, but also because I've been a guest on his creative nonfiction podcast. Just look up creative nonfiction podcast. He's got more episodes than I do. This episode 426. I think he's got like double my episodes I got. So he's been killing it in the podcast game. He had this well before I started this show about 5 years ago. And so, yeah, so shout out to him. We've had a lot of conversations on Creative Nonfiction Podcast. So if you want to see some of our, or hear some of our conversations, just Google Creative Nonfiction Podcast, look up my name. I think I've been on there about 4 times. And so love having conversations with him. Again, appreciate you, buddy, and congratulations on your major book. All right, today we're going to talk about how to sell digital products online and physical too. This is important because this is part of a greater series when we're talking about throughout the month. You'll see the live setup throughout this month. This is the third of 4 episodes. We're talking about getting your business online, getting it started, even if you're doing a brick and mortar, even if you're doing physical products, like I have done in the past, again, with my books. That's a big part of what we're talking about. The first episode, we talked about where you're actually going to start as far as getting your storefront, getting website and so forth. The second episode, which we had last week, talked about how you can get your physical and or digital products created, how you're actually going to make it. Today, we're talking about how to sell your digital products and sell your physical products. How are you going to actually get the money from the people that you're serving, and how are you going to get the product to them? This is an essential part of it. Sometimes we just focus on the concept of it, but you can have the best product in the world. You know, this might be the best book in the world, but if there's no way for, if you're interested in it, for you to get the book from me and to pay me for it, to pay my organization, my business for it, and for me to send it to you, then it's not really a business. It's I don't know what it is. As they said in grad school back in the day, shout out to Northwestern. If you write something you don't share with anybody, it's called a diary. I don't want you to create diaries. I don't want you to create concepts. I want you to actually ship the stuff that you're committed to doing. So this is a great way to do that. We're going to talk about the different ways. The fancy word is e-commerce. The fancy ways that we can do e-commerce, as well as how you can actually take care of people when they want to buy something from you in person. In person still exists. It's still a thing. You can watch the whole series right now. You're watching part of the series. It's 3 or 4. You can watch the whole series right now at this link right here. The whole playlist is available. It's going to be 4 episodes. The final episode will be next week, and we'll be talking about how to exit or sell your company. And if that's the direction you want to go in, I wish you the best. I went through that about 10 years ago. So we're going to talk that serious talk next week. If it's episodes that haven't happened yet, such as episode 4 that's happening next week, then you can actually go to this link, click on the episode you're interested in, and click notification, and then YouTube or the platform will send you a notification when we're live. And of course, we're going to be asking or answering a lot of questions from y'all. None of this would be possible without short form. Shout out to short form, your ultimate book reader companion. Thank you for supporting the channel. Short form is really cool for a couple of different reasons. One of the reasons is that it allows you to It actually allows you to learn more about the books that you're interested in. That's one. And then it allows you to actually go deeper into the books that you already have. So let's log in real quick and we'll hop in. And of course, it's going to be showing some of my favorite books. This is my personal account. Yeah, yeah. 40 Laws of Power. Shout out to Robert Greene. And so the first thing it enables you to do is to go deeper into a book you're curious about. So let's say you're curious about Fast Food Nation, which is a book that's really dear to my heart, dear to my heart, selling to kids and so forth. And so it'll give a one-page summary as well as links and information about the actual book. And so if we go to, so it has recommendations, a breakdown, and so forth, you can go from there. You can purchase the book through here. You can bookmark it, so forth. You can install the app so that you can go ahead and do short form on the go. And so you can learn more about it. And you have highlights and so forth. But then also, if we do this, and then let's go to Robert Greene, my guy that did 48 Laws of Power. So if you wanted to learn more about a particular author or person that you're interested in, then you can go deeper here. So for instance, if you're curious about Robert Greene, again, the author of the 48 Laws of Power, then they have summaries of all his books here. He's done a ton of books. So we're not even going to hit view all. They'll take up the whole screen. But we got that. And not to mention the podcasts and all the different areas that he's been featured in, whether it's HBR, which is Harvard Business Review, whether it's again Diary of a CEO. This just came out. I haven't even listened to this podcast yet. And so with my guy Stephen Bartlett over at Diary of a CEO, and so you can go deeper into that. You can bookmark it, you can listen to it, and go from there. It's a great tool if you're a bookworm like me. I have 2 degrees in journalism. I've written 27 books. Even I can use some type of tool like this because frankly, behind my big head is my bookshelf for the show, but I have boxes, literally boxes of books in the back and so forth. I gotta honestly shout out to my mom. And so, if you're really into books, it's also a way to categorize things and go deeper into the books that you already know, as well as be able to reach out and get certain details from those bigger books that you might have on your shelf somewhere and you don't know where they are. Shout out to Short Form. Actually, have a special deal with them specifically for Bring Your Worth TV folks. You get a free trial as of our live discussion, 20% off your actual fee for it. Check them out. I know some of y'all have signed up. I can't wait to hear the feedback as far as how you're appreciating it. I've been a user for probably like a year now, and I appreciate having them on board. And yeah, check it out. Thank you for short form. Shank, thank you to short form. Thank you to short form for sponsoring the show. Man, I swear I've just had water a day. I don't know why I'm so loopy. Today's show, how to sell digital products online and physical stuff. I talked about that in today's newsletter. I have a weekly newsletter at joindamon.me. It comes out every Wednesday, just like this show. And I talked about it today in the newsletter. You can get it for free at joindamon.me. Too Ashamed to Sell. Seth Godin, who I got to know a few years ago when I did a program with him and got some mentorship with him, which I so appreciate his work. The genius marketer Seth Godin talked about how when we don't share our gift with other people, when we are afraid to sell, ashamed to sell, in my words, then we're actually doing a disservice to the people that we could be helping. If you were stuck right now dealing with something related to getting your product or service off the ground, or pivoting out of your full-time job and building a strong side hustle to the point where that becomes what feeds you, or getting into passive income and you're not sure where to start, or you wanted to launch a book and you don't know where to go. And I'm sitting here with the information. It's like 60,000 words. I'm sitting here with like 60,000 words worth of information, and I don't share it with you. What's really the selfish move? For me to be too humble to not share with y'all, hey, I have a book that might help you get to the next level. Or it's a selfish act, hey, I'm not going to share it at all because I'm afraid it's not good enough. Let's talk about it. That is a decision. That is a choice. And as we go through evolving from starting a business, which we talked about in the first section of this program, to building whatever we're creating, whether it's a digital product like software. My exit 10 years ago was an app called Cuddler. So you're creating a cloud, or creating something on the cloud, or something that's software, or you're creating a product, which we talked about in the second episode in this series. You're going to go through all that, and then you're not going to share it with the world. Your product is never going to be perfect. And so often when we're in situations where we see someone who is struggling or having a hard time or just needs something, and we happen to have it, we can sometimes be under the cloak of humility and be like, no, 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 I'm not going to talk about it. No, 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 I don't like to brag. I like to be humble. No, you're hiding. It's actually a disservice. It's a disservice. I believe strongly in that, because if you have a particular POV, or to get old school, if you have a particular light and you're not allowing it to shine, that's just keeping you under the guise of being safe. That's not protecting you, really. It's just helping you psychologically feel better. And there could be people, communities, customers, if you're not comfortable with that word, you can find a different word, who could really use whatever you got. I'm really intense when it comes to words. I love conversations. As you can tell, this is episode 426. I love complicated concepts, and I happen to have a knack to be able to explain them relatively clearly to other people who might not understand the complicated concepts. That's a particular strength of mine. That's what I love doing. That's why I'm a teacher. That's why I coach. That's why I'm chilling with y'all every Wednesday. That's my strength. Imagine if I was too reserved, too afraid to share that with y'all. How sad would that be? Again, it's not a flex on myself. I'm just trying to give you an example. What is your particular POV, your particular strength? I have all these things that are not strengths, but I know what my strengths are. Me adding those strengths to the pot, kind of like a stone soup, the community adds it to the pot, and suddenly it's an amazing soup. But if you're withholding your stuff because it's not good enough, it's not perfect enough, you're afraid you're going to be ostracized or someone's going to be laughing at you, then you're doing a service to all of us. Straight up. Talk about that in the newsletter. As you can tell, I have a lot to say, but it really ties into one of the struggles, the quiet struggles, where, again, talking with today's episode, it's not just about the mechanics of it, which we'll talk about the mechanics, and I'll give solid tools. All the links are below anything I'm talking about. But it's also about the psychology of it, which is a lot of the coaching that I do. So as you set up these e-commerce systems, as you set up your credit card payments, as you set up your website, as you go ahead and you put the proverbial open for business out, which I can't wait for you to do. Please jump in the comments if you're going through that right now. I would love to see it, and I'd love to support you. As you go through that, you might find some resistance where you feel like you're not quite ready. And so you can have the best e-commerce in the world. I've seen situations where people have literally had physical money out to pay somebody, and people have been like, no, it's not quite ready. Have you guys heard of pre-ordering? Get it together. But end up being a psychological block, not a technical block. As they say nowadays, it was not a skills issue. A skills issue is what we're going to talk about today as far as getting your systems together. But sometimes the systems issue is all up here. Again, I talk about the newsletter. Feel free to jump in. Newsletter is free. It's just something from the heart. And thank you for y'all for supporting the newsletter. All right. So we're going to talk about the practical side now. How do I get paid online? Obviously, if you're selling something online, particularly a software as a service, they call it SaaS, SaaS, software as a service, something like that, or even a physical thing where you're going to ship to somebody, people need to pay you. Luckily, there's so many different options when it comes to e-commerce. And so it really becomes how can you set things up with a system that works best for you. There's two basic criteria that I think work the best when it comes to getting paid online. The first thing is the security of it. In other words, there's a million different ways where people can send you money, right? I won't even list them. There's a ton of them. By the time I list them, a couple of them will be old, and there'll be more of them will be here. When it comes to actually doing it, though, you want to make sure it's a platform where the person's, whoever is buying it, your customer, is able to do it securely so that the money gets to the platform, usually in their credit card or debit card, right? Because it's online, or PayPal. We can use something like that as not as your main platform, but as a way for the customer to pay to the real platform you're going to use, because PayPal isn't secure like that. And then secondly, for them to be able to, that platform to be able to get the money to you. Now, an important detail is that there's usually a gap between the person paying for the product or service, we'll just call it a product right now, paying for the product, and you actually getting paid for it. There is a gap. I learned this the hard way when I went independent many, many years ago, decade plus ago. And I think rent was due or something was going on. And someone bought one of my products. I'm like, yeah, let's go, just in time. And they're like, wait a second, you're going to get it the following Monday. I remember that moment. I was like, what? Why isn't it showing up in my account? Because there's verification needs to happen. The person goes, uses a credit card or a debit card, and says, yes, let's talk about my book. Yes, I'm going to buy a copy of Damon's book. You can do it at DamonBrown.net. So let's use a real world example. Great. Someone goes, buys it, puts in the cart, buys it. Great, thank you. Their debit card and or credit card and or PayPal account, but PayPal is a little bit different. So let's focus on debit card and credit card. They will put a hold on it, right? So it's called pending. If you have a credit card or debit card, you've seen that before on your statements when you've gone online. It'll go into pending, and they'll hold that amount. Let's say this book is $40. So they'll hold $40 on the customer's account. They'll go through their verification tools, which could take a couple business days. And then they'll be like, yes, that is a legit customer. There's no kind of fraud going on. Great. So then it appears, and you can call it an escrow account, that's held by this platform. Depending on the platform's rules and regulations and setups, then it might take a whole additional day, business day, for that money to get transferred to your bank or credit union. So there's a couple of days that go through there. And so it's not the same as you're going to give me two $20 bills. I'm going to give you change if necessary and hand you a copy of the book. That's different. So the number one thing when you're setting up and deciding on which platform you're going to use to do your e-commerce is to make sure it's secure. Because if it's not secure, then there could be some funny business that happens with that middleman between you and the customer. That's number one. Number two, making sure that it's something that's actually accessible by you and the customer. I remember living in Silicon Valley, and it was a friend of mine. If you're watching, you know who you are. Is a friend of mine, probably like 10 years ago. And actually, it was further back, I mean, 15 years ago when I was over in Silicon Valley. And, me and my crew, whatever, we all went out to dinner or had drinks or something. And they were like, hey, I don't have any cash on me. It's like, all right, I got you covered, whatever. It's like, can I go ahead and such you? And I was like, you're going to do what? And we all looked at each other like, what are you saying? But there ended up being this new platform that allowed you to send people money. We had never heard of it. It's Silicon Valley. We still never heard of it. It's like, what? And they explained it, and we were like, okay. And then he was like, well, so I'm going to send this to you, but you need to download the app, and you need to become a member and all this stuff. We ended up doing it, but it was like, why? You don't want your customer to go through that. You see how frustrating that sounds? Again, you know who you are. I love you. But you know what I mean? You know how frustrating that is, where it's just like, wait, so I have to download, I just want to buy the book. I just want to buy the service. I just want to get the app and pay you money for it. Why do I have to download another service for that? So The mainstreamness of it is smart. Picking a platform, a way to get paid online that actually fits where your audience is. So I'm middle aged. A lot of y'all are in my age range or maybe a little bit younger. If it's a new hot platform that's for e commerce, some of y'all, and I rock with some of y'all, are in your 70s or your 80s. If you're 18, maybe you might be on the hot new platform, but you know, right, you're not gonna pay me on Snapchat. Like that's not that's not my audience. And so if you have a young slash hip audience, sure, feel free to go to some of the newer e-commerce platforms. But we want to go with the tried and true. With when it comes to e-commerce, and I've done startups. I was working with AI a few years ago before it popped off. Like I don't mind being on the cutting or bleeding edge. I don't mind at all. In fact, I like it there. As some of y'all that I coach, y'all are trying to push things to the bleeding or cutting edge. And I'm right there with you, supporting you, giving you as much game as possible. Again, if you want to coach with me, it's at damonbrown.net. But if you're watching and you coach with me, you know the deal. E-commerce slash finances isn't where you want to be at the bleeding edge. You want to be relatively conservative with that. Because if your stuff takes off and you're like how I was many years ago, where I started my independent stuff and I found out I wasn't going to get paid for 3 days and I really needed the money, you don't want to be bleeding edge. And unfortunately, if you're hanging out with me live or if you're watching in the future, chances are in the headlines, there's going to be some new financial platform that was cutting edge, that was doing things differently, that wasn't FDIC secured. You know what I'm saying? Here in America, that's the lingo for basically if something happens to the bank or to the bank, usually banks, but to the platform, then it will guarantee every user up to a certain amount of money, even though the money might not be there. It's federally backed. That's what's federally backed up. That's what FDIC means. If you're just hanging out here, that's a dangerous way to set up your business, particularly again, this part of, as I have, part of how you make a living, part of how you feed your family, part of how you eat. We don't want to be hanging out there on the outside. There's a couple good ones that I have appreciated for years, literally years, that I think are stable, they're secure, they pay on time, and I've had no kind of issues with them. So I'm going to suggest some of those to you right now. The first one that I so appreciate is called Stripe. What I like about Stripe is that it's by two folks, two brothers called, last name is Colson. Collison? I think it's Colson. They're actually Irish, so it might have an accent in there. But Collison, John, and I forget the second person's name. They come from a tech background, but they also are super, super detailed when it comes to the financial stuff. They are not playing around. And there's nothing sloppy, nothing extra going on. And I'll show you Stripe right now. There we go. Financial infrastructure to grow your revenue. Again, when we're talking about, we could be on the cutting edge with AI and doing startups and all that. Again, if you've been a long listener and watcher of the show, I'm happy to bring you the new cool stuff. We're cool with that. I will bring it to you in a heartbeat if it's something I think is going to help you level up. Financial stuff, we want to be conservative. And I don't mean politically. We want to be conservative as far as how we handle our customers' money and how that money comes to us. Mark my words on that, okay? You don't want to be outside with this. Stripe is awesome, has a lot of good resources. I have the link right there below, but if you go to stripe.com and let's go to payments, online payments, there you go. You got it set up right here, as you can see. Sorry, they have a lot of stuff going on here. And if you want to go directly, it's stripe.com/payments. But I highly recommend going to the front page I sent you to and just hanging out there. And then you see the vibes. Link here, start accepting payments. You click this, you put in your information, your bank and or credit union information, where you are. If you're overseas, there's probably other setups you can do based on your financial institutions. You set it up. They go and make sure it's secure. I think you're up and running in a day. And it'll break down all the good stuff for you. We go to features. This is stuff I was talking about. If I lost you earlier, this is stuff I was talking about. Accepting payments, processing payments. That's from when the customer gives their credit card or debit card to this platform, in this case Stripe, and then they process it, settle and reconcile. That means after the pending charge is done, Stripe, in this case, will send the information back to the bank or credit union and say, oh, yeah, we're good. Great. And it's not pending anymore. Now the money's officially in your Stripe. We'll call it escrow. And reconcile. Reconcile means maybe their credit card didn't go through. Maybe their bank and or credit union doesn't have enough money in the debit card to actually have the thing go through. What happens then? Stripe will handle it for you and, of course, manage. What I really like about Stripe too, and I'm not even going to click into that because it gets really detailed, is that they every single detail from, again, accept, the process to set and reconcile to manage, even that whole thing. Each detail has an overview. So I've been working with Stripe for, I'd say, about 4 years, something like that. Since I did an overhaul of my website, I'll show you in a moment at damebrown.net. So Stripe is actually connected to my website. So you purchase something on there and it goes right through. Again, I'll show you all in a moment. And what I love about this setup is that going back to, what would that be, 2021, 2020 maybe, I can go and see every single transaction, action, any issues that popped up, who the customer was, which credit card they use. If it's recurring payments, I can set that up. It's primo. It's excellent. Stripe is probably my favorite platform when it comes to those kind of details. I think it's really important to look at it from that particular standpoint. Another option is Square. Square is actually what I rocked with before I started working with Stripe, and I'll show you why in a moment. Okay. So Square has been here for a while. In fact, I think Square launched back when I was in Silicon Valley. So like again, 15 years ago or so. Square is really cool because it allows you to do the different sales, and we'll do payments here. And so do the different sales from your website. I had it set up before. And so doing those kinds of details, and it really allows you to go a little bit deeper into that. And so you can go and send them, as you can see, send them from your website to go and say, okay, it's squareup.com/BrownDamon, which is a handle that you might see on the different platforms that I'm on. You have that set up, and then they'll go and take care of it for you. There's a nominal fee, as it is with Stripe. This is a little bit more old school and actually can tie into physical products that you can use to do in-person sales, which is one of the reasons why I'm mentioning Square. And then we'll talk about that in the next segment as far as what happens when we have to do sales in person or POS, point of sale. All right. They're both great. You can go and check out my link below. I believe for Stripe, I just have the website. For Square, it's actually a special deal that I have with them. So if you want to check them out, you actually will be supporting the channel, as well as I think there's some type of special bonus that you guys will have if you join Square right now. And we're talking about all this. We got to talk about contracts and intellectual property. Get better contracts and protect your intellectual property. Such a key part of this discussion. It's kind of a best of with me talking about intellectual property when it comes to co-founding things. I've been a co-founder before. I sold my company, as I mentioned earlier, as well as intellectual property. I've negotiated intellectual property back from major corporations, or when they went bankrupt, or they had certain pivots that are happening within their business, or we knew it was time to part ways. I discuss all that, try to give you all as much game as possible, as well as pulling on real world examples, such as Kendrick Lamar. Speaking of Kendrick Lamar, we talked about him earlier in the episode. Kendrick Lamar, and how there was a certain sample that he used in one of his recent albums, and the person who was actually singing on the sample was not paid. Why did that happen? I talk about why that happened. I talk about how there's certain decisions that are made in the rock world, and certain people, whether it's the Beatles or the Foo Fighters, and looking at the different ways that they actually got their contract signed and dealt with their intellectual property. Be sure and check out the episode. For y'all, How are you trying to get paid online? Is that something you're struggling with? If you're getting paid online already, what platforms are you using? I'm really curious about it. Again, I'm getting older, so there might be some new cool platforms that are just as secure as the ones I suggested, such as Square and such as Stripe. What's going on? Hop in the comments. Let me know. I love to hear what y'all are working with. Again, I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown, here to help you as a side hustler, solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. If you want to work with me, go and hop in at damebrown.net. There's all the information about working together. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV Wednesdays live at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe for free at your favorite platform. You're watching it on Twitch. You follow me on LinkedIn as well as at the main platforms over at bringyourworth.tv. Water break. You know, it's it might as well be summertime here in Vegas. We're touching 100 this week, so summer's here. How do I get paid in person? We forget about this all the time. If it's one thing I really want to push to you, is that in person is not dead. Yes, we had a pandemic, and peace and love to y'all that went through that, might have lost loved ones. I know there's people that I care about that passed away in that. We might be going full remote, WFH, work from home. We might even be playing with hybrid a little bit, depending on the company that you're with, which is cool, whatever, right? I have strong feelings about it, but we're not going to get into it here. All that said, we still long for the in person. We still long for the in person. That's why we have the Coachellas and the Super Bowls. That's why we have the keynotes where I'm flying across the country and doing it in person, even though I could have did it, wearing my wearing my slippers from this seat that I'm talking to y'all to right now. That's why we long for the networking events. That's why a month and a half ago, I paid good money to fly to Vancouver to hang out at TED. I talked about a month and a half ago at bringyourworth.tv. You can catch out episodes and my report back from TED, as well as at inc.com. That still matters. I am a keynote speaker. And so when I'm traveling somewhere, not the virtual thing, I do the virtual thing for sure. Shout out to y'all that I've connected to virtually. But when I'm asked to do something in person and I travel there and I'm a keynote speaker and I got my name on a poster and people pay tickets to come see me talk for 45 minutes. I got my books in the back. It's called back of the room sales. Little lingo for you. It's called back of the room sales. I got my joints in the back of the room. How do you think they pay me for it? These books aren't free. There's a business here. Some folks have cash, but that's one thing that's happened, particularly again post-pandemic or after pandemic. So not quite post, are we? After pandemic, is that people are carrying less cash. I'm carrying less cash. I used to carry a lot of cash, not like a roll, but I used to carry cash. Now I hardly carry cash. And so you need to find ways to make sure that you can take care of people in person. The first one is to make sure that you have cash on you. Make sure that you literally have change on you. I have a lot of older relatives who worked in finance institutions, whether it was credit unions or mortgage brokers or whatever. So they put me on game on that. They're like, yeah, you're going to have this in-person event. Make sure you go to the bank or whatever, go to the credit union, whatever, and get $50 worth of change. X amount of dollars, X amount of $5 bills, and a few $10 bills. You want to be in that world, particularly, again, I'm middle age. And so folks in my age range and older, they're still going to be walking around with the cash. If you go to rural areas, which I've spoken in some rural areas, shout out to Mississippi, you got to have the cash on you. You go to places, they're cash only. They're not using Stripe or Square or whatever. They're not using that joint. I'm not even mad at them. Just it's kind of like classic. Cash is trusted more in some ways. So make sure you have change on you. Number two, make sure you have a copy or your product on you at all times. When I was at TED, what, 6, 7 weeks ago, I had copies of my book on me. I don't know. I don't know. The worst feeling in the world, and if you've read my books, meta moment, but if you've read my books or you've seen the previous episodes, you know the story. Me being in a situation up in San Francisco, I'll never forget it. And I was at a dinner party, and I didn't have a copy of my book on me. And I ended up talking to somebody who got along well. It's like, I want to buy your book right now. And I was like, oh, shoot, I don't have it with me. But I have a hot copy at home because I was living in San Francisco at the time. So it's like, I'll get it, I have a copy at home. Why don't I like text you, or emailing was more common at the time. Let me email you, and then we'll go ahead and make sure it happens. I emailed them. They emailed them several times. They never emailed me back. That was a lost book sale. It haunts me to this day. There's opportunity there, particularly again with the in person. Do not get fooled by the online stuff. In person still matters. So, number one, if you're going to an area where you think some of that might happen, get yourself some change. So, it might be someone that has cash on them. You want to take care of them. Number two, to make sure you have your product on you. People would laugh, but they were like, damn, Damon always has his book on him. I sure do. And there's TV appearances, there's sales, there's speaking events that have happened because I happen to have my book on me. I connected with somebody. They're like, I would love to get your book. And I'm like, you got it. I might give it to them for free, or if it's a customer, I'll go and sell it to them. And then I got a customer, or I got an opportunity and they call me up. They're like, yeah, I love this book. Let's go ahead and buy multiple copies of it, or let's have you speak here. There's opportunities with that. So, number one, make sure you got your change. Number two, make sure you got your product. And number three, make sure you have some type of device. Luckily, we have our phones most of the time. You have some type of device that will actually allow you to make transactions. Such a key part of it. One, make sure you got the change on you. Number two, make sure you got the product. Number three, make sure you have a way to accept debit or credit cards with your phone device. That's what we're about to talk about. When it comes to the nitty gritty, you can do a lot worse than Square. Again, I just talked about Square. I can go and show y'all the Square website again, just because if you're just watching this segment, you might have missed that. So I'll give y'all some love. And pardon me if you happen to catch that earlier. There we go. And there's Square. And Square allows you to go ahead and take care of and fulfill online payments, but it also has a lot of devices. There's a new Square handheld. Oh, look at that. I don't even have this joint yet. Look at this. All pocketable, the pocketable, I can't talk today. The pocketable all in one POS. Don't worry, it's not a curse word. POS means point of sale. Point of sale. Point of sale means it's not online. That means that you see me at a keynote, you're like, I want to buy Damon's book. I'm like, bet. I grab a copy of my book. I go ahead and use my device. You go ahead and use your credit card or debit card, and then I give you the book. Or like I talked about, we do a cash sale. So they've upgraded this. This looks amazing. And then you got the Square Register, which is hardcore. You don't want to walk around with that. But if you have a brick and mortar, or if you're really set up like that, I think I used the Square Register once. And that's when, I think that was when I was entrepreneur in residence back in at the Toledo Lucas Library. It was during that era, which is quite a few years ago. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to bringyourworth.tv, listen to my keynotes for free from that. But it was during that era, and that was too much for me. The Square Terminal is great, and then Square Banking, and then there's some other opportunities here. So this, so Square is a good. I recommended Stripe in the previous part as far as getting paid online. Square is actually would have that one advantage where Stripe, as far as I know, does not have any physical products. So they're not going to necessarily help you when you're having a POS point of sale where it's in person, someone's giving you their American Express, and you're like, can you go online to this website? Like, let me punch it in. Like, I've done that before. You don't want to do that. especially when I've done book tours where you have a line of people. You're fortunate to have a line of people there. You're trying to punch in credit card numbers. You don't want to be that guy. No, you don't want to be that guy or gal, what have you. Square is awesome because you can do your online as well as a one-stop shop. When it comes to Square, and let's go ahead and move that so you can see what's happening. When it comes to Square, then we have this. I forget the name of this. I've had this for so long. But if you look at it, go ahead and it's really, sorry, it's focused on my face. So hopefully you can see it. There's a little slice here, a little slice here. And you can see my initials because there was a lot of stuff going on. You can tell I've been at a lot of marketplaces. This one, it happens to slide right into my current iPhone, but they have one for and adapters for all the different phones. This plugs into your phone, and then someone can take. It's happen to have a set of stamps here. I didn't want to show you all my credit card, but it slides right here, right in here, and you hear a little noise or what have you, a little ding, and suddenly it pops up on the Square app, and then you can go ahead and set up what they bought. What's nice about Square as well, and this is also with Stripe, is that both of them allow you to set up product lines. So this book, which is kind of like a best of, it's a complete Bring Your Worth collection. This is $40 currently. But a smaller book of mine, like one, find one of my big hits, one of my big hits, find my big hit, like the deluxe edition of Built from Now. That one I believe is $30 currently. And so those products show up on your app within Square or within the platform at stripe.com if you end up using Stripe. A good place to start would be at squareup.com, where at least when I got one, these were actually free, or you can actually get them at your Staples, Office Max, any type of place like that. You'll see them hanging. The dynamics might have changed because they have the new products, but that's where I got mine. You can definitely get it online though. Squareup.com. If you went to there in previous times, you could actually get one of these for free, or you can buy it and they will reimburse you as soon as you do your first transaction. Definitely worth it. If it's, this is one of my, I'm kind of wearing my typical outfit with a blazer and a t-shirt. Shout out to Beehive, my newsletter provider. All the links are below. I'm wearing my Beehive shirt. And so I can go ahead and slide this right in here with my index cards. If you know the index cards, you know my index cards, breath mints, whatever else I might need. And so if I'm doing an event, I can just pull it out right there. And this thing is tiny again to give you, it's a little bit bigger than my thumb. And I do not have big hands, right? The link right here is actually to the Square terminal. And the Square terminal allows you to actually do the tap devices. And that's a little bit bigger. I happen to misplace mine, so it is here though. But it's about the size of, I'd say about 2 inches squared. And instead of having to slide it, if you're a credit card or debit card user within the last few years and you recently got your card updated, we've gone to the tap system that allows you to tap it. Square Terminal will allow you to tap things. And Square Terminal, there's the big terminal, but there's also a little one that again is about 2 to 3 inches square. No pun intended. That's why it's called Square. And about this thin. It's super small. It's so small. I was traveling and I misplaced it. That's how small it is. It's fantastically small. Highly recommend it. All the links are below for this. If you're going to be doing this, make sure you take care of people when you see them in person. Live Q&A that I did probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Run business from anywhere. I love the discussion that we had in this live show from, again, about a year or two ago, where if we're doing the hybrid, if you're like me and you got multiple businesses and I got 2 little kids, so I'm traveling this and doing this family thing over here and all that, but I still have coaching clients, but I still have consulting clients. I'm a ghostwriter, so still have ghostwriting clients. I'm still, fielding opportunities for public speaking. I'm still managing this show to get meta about it. The different tools here, as I talk about in the show, will help you manage your business even if you're on the road. This will become crucial here in North America and in most of Europe and I guess Asia. Then we're actually going into summer as we're talking live. And so my kids are about to get out of school. They get out of school here early because of the hot weather here in Vegas. So we're kind of transitioning into summer hours. So I might be by the pool. I might be over here. I might be visiting relatives with my family. Like da da da. Like all these things are happening. Crucial episode if you're going to be on the road and how to handle things. And of course, it gets into when you're traveling to be able to take care of those opportunities when you're actually traveling. What if you're traveling this summer and someone really wants your service or product? How do you handle that? We talk about that all in this episode. It's a nice little follow up to what we're talking about here. So, what about y'all? How are you dealing with getting paid in person? Are you cash only? You're not doing the POS or the point of sale systems? Are you strictly doing point of sale systems and not taking any cash? Are there opportunities that you've missed because you didn't have a certain way to accept payment from someone that was right in front of you? I know how frustrating that could be. Share your stories in the comments. I already shared mine. You guys have heard that story from me multiple times. And it's like, that missed sale 13, 14 years ago still haunts me to this day. Share our stories. Yeah, and let me know if there's other ways that you're doing point of sales that I don't know about. Yeah, feel free to share your story. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown, help you as a side hustler, solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Show live Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe at all the major platforms for free. So, if we're going to talk about the money, then we also have to talk about managing the money. Earlier in the episode, we talked about how you can get paid online, and all the suggestions are below, or you can rewind, of course. And we also talked about how to get paid in person, point of sale. I'm a public speaker, also I'm an independent publisher, publish my own books now. And so I'm used to being on the road. And so I'm being interested in the book and in doing that transaction right at the moment. There are tools and tricks to do that. We talked about it quite a bit. Now it comes to actually managing the payments, managing the payments. When it comes to managing the payments, number one, whatever payment platform you pick, you need to make sure it has a thorough enough profit and loss slash transaction sheet so that you can see the history of what you're doing. I run a couple of different businesses. I have a lot of W-2s because I do a lot of independent work. And so when it comes to tax time, and much respect and love to people that I've been married to and stuff like that, it can get really, really complicated because I have so many people that I work with. Tracing that independent work, including the books and so forth, is crucial, crucial, crucial when it comes to tax time, when it comes to any collaborators I work with. I have a couple co-authored books. So when one of those books is sold, then I send the royalties to the people I co-authored with. Like it gets really complicated. I don't even have any employees. I'm a solo operation and it's complicated for me. I don't even I don't even have an employee. So if you're getting to the point where you're starting to have employees and all, like serious contractors and stuff, then you need to make sure your stuff is organized. So whatever platform you use, and again, I've highlighted a few earlier today. Whatever platforms you use, make sure that the the accounting is up to par. So you see the details. I know how many royalties I made from my books, know how many are sold, and so forth. It makes it a lot easier to track those kind of things. Second of all, make sure that whatever platform you pick as far as your e-commerce, it's compatible with whatever website or storefront you work with. Now, we talked about this in the very beginning of this series, episode one of that, or section one, where we talked about how you can set up your storefront, why you need a website, and how all those things are connected together. If you end up choosing a payment platform, we'll call it a payment platform, e-commerce platform, that actually is not compatible with your storefront or your website, how are people going to pay you? It's not going to work. And so this has to be a holistic process. You might actually have chosen a website and or a storefront that has e-commerce built in. Some of them are quite good. I think I mentioned a couple of them in the previous sections. Maybe they can do the all-in-one shop for you. Just make sure they can handle the finances as well as they handle the storefront and/or website. Please, again, you don't want to mess with your money. You for sure do not want to mess with your customers' money. So once they do a transaction, make sure that it's legit. Listen to folks like myself or folks that go do a deep dive into it, do the reviews online before you commit to a particular payment platform. Third of all, when it comes to managing payments, you want to make sure that everything is integrated. I remember there was a period of time when people who do in-person, when I would do in-person payments and someone buy a book, then I would use one platform. Say, great. But then if they wanted to buy the books online, then there was a whole little website, not even a storefront, just a little website where they click on there and they have to do the payments from there. They have to scroll down, say, I'm going to buy this, da da da. And then I'd have my website slash storefront, which was completely different, and none of them were integrated. Look at my face. It's stressing me out now. That was more than a decade ago. And so I was like, stop the insanity. Where does Susan Powder? It's like, I'm done with this. Let me figure out how to integrate this. And so, as I talked about in previous sections, I am doing uh, a redesign of my main website and I'm finding ways to integrate my storefront into my website. And then I was able to use great payment platforms that would connect with my website. And so, literally, if you go to damonbrown.net right now, it's one-stop shopping, and I get the notification. The money goes through. It's all handled, and the only thing I have to do is send you a Bring Your Worth mug or a signed copy of one of my books. That's it. It's all smooth. So look towards integration versus looking at it as separate pieces. Trust me, particularly that worked okay when my business was small, but as it got bigger, I got more books, more products. I started coaching. It's like it would just pile and pile on. We want to have it as streamlined as possible early on in the journey. My personal way of doing that, and what ended up being a great solution for me, is a website platform slash storefront called Strikingly. Called Strikingly. Strikingly is super cool. I've been working with them for a minute, and I'm a big fan of theirs. I'm trying to remember how long I've been. I think I've had my home at Strikingly for 7 years. Yes, I'm starting. My memory's starting to come back. 7, 8 years, maybe 9 years. So we're going on 10 years. Yeah, yeah. My kids are 9 and 11, so it's really taking me back. I've been working with you guys for a while. As you say, make a website in minutes, and then the different setups here, and a lot of independent folks. Website editor, you see the breakdown there. It's called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. I love the setup here, and e-commerce built in. So that is a thing, right? And you can go as deep as you want. You can do your domain from there. You can set up your store. You can set up a blog. You can do a social feed, contact forms, and as I say, much more. And I'm a big fan of them. Let's just get into it, and I'll show you my website and how it's integrated. We talked about this in the very first section, but it's worth going over it again because now we have a little bit more perspective as far as what's possible and what integration means. And so, if you want to, if you want to do coaching and learning with Damon, you have my coaching here, and then let's go to the books. There we go. The complete Bring Your Worth collection, and it's actually $50. And so it's currently $50 right now. And then you see a little summary here, and you're like, what copy do I want? Do I want the paperback? Do I want the digital version? Do I want the paperback and the mug? Or do I want the digital and the mug, right? And then you can go and do the paperback. And then you have quantity, one, two, go nuts and get five. But one, two, and then add to cart. It's in your cart. Boom. Right. You see where it's highlighted right there? It's in the cart. You go and you click on there, and it says, great, put in your credit card information or your debit card, whatever digital card you have. You put it in there. It's like, awesome. I get a notification in email and also my phone if I want, but I like to keep my peace. So I'll get a notification in my email. But like, hey, so and so ended up buying a book and a mug. Awesome. I'm like, great. I can go and reply to you in a message and say, hey, thanks so much. And I appreciate you. I'll go and send it out within the next business day. And then I go and grab a copy, sign it. I get a little box for the mug. I, you know, tie it up like it's Christmas. I go to the post office or the UPS folks who know me, and I send it off, and you end up getting it. And then that payment is already going through. And because of what I use in the background, personally, I use Stripe. Stripe will go and say, "Hey, you got a payment," and they'll send me a notification. They'll go and hook it up, and they'll be like, "Hey, we'll make sure the payment goes through." Within a day, they're like, "Yeah, we verified with the bank and or credit union or the credit card company. Yeah, it's the payment's good. You're fine. Great." And then within those payment platforms, you can actually dictate if you want that money to automatically be sent to a particular bank or credit union account. You can actually have that just hang out, as I said, in escrow. That's really up to you. But I have one stop shopping. That's it. I can hang out with y'all and somebody can buy a book right now and I don't have to suddenly stop and say, oh, I have to stop the show. I don't respond to this. It's already automated. What I want for you as you build your businesses is to have it as automated as possible. If you have it as automated as possible, then you're able to have, ironically, a higher level of intimacy because I don't have to pedal or push my books and be like, oh, well, someone just bought a book and I need to do this and do that. Then I'm able to hang out with y'all an hour, 2 hours a week and share whatever insight I have, answer any questions you might have, hear your insights. So some of y'all have certain insights that I don't even have. And I'm able to connect with y'all in a way that I couldn't if I was frantic running my business. That's what you want when you start a business. You're already going to have crunch times. You're already going to have periods of time where you're not going to be sleeping much. There's going to be times where money might be tight as far as cash flow, and you might be have a commitment over here, and then you're over here, and the gap in between feels really long. Again, I've been in the trenches. You got my sympathy and empathy. That's all part of the game. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that's the season that you're in. So any way that you can set up your e-commerce, whether it's online or POS, point of sale, where someone's actually handing you money or a credit card or debit card, any way that you can streamline that will add up to so much less stress in the future. Again, the systems that I've set up, that's why I can share these stories. When I was living in San Francisco and I was just starting my publishing company and I didn't know what I was doing, that period of time of not knowing what I was doing allowed me to know what I'm doing now. So get all the wrinkles out now. You might not even have started your business yet. Even better, get the systems in place. Start doing, have your friends or work with someone that does small transactions on Stripe or on Square or what have you, so you can see how the system works. Pay them $1 back, but have them charge $1. See how the system works. Get it in place. Because by the time you're doing 27 books or you're doing startups and you're traveling or whatever that dream is, whatever that vision is, get those pieces in place now so that your system can be together. Otherwise, if you blow up in the way that you really want to blow up, you're not going to be ready. Your systems might not have the capacity for it. It's already stressful and intense enough when you do have those highs. And I've, knock on wood, I've had quite a few highs, quite a few moments where my career was on fire. And you're going to have those moments too if you haven't had them already. If you haven't had them yet, then be prepared for them. Have the system in place. That's part of inviting the luck into your life, career wise. If you've had those moments where you've had those career highs, then you already know what I'm talking about. Make sure your system is in place when things are calm and smooth. Listen, I can't speak for you. I can't tell you what to do. I'm your proverbial coach, but you have not hired me as a coach. So I can't tell you what to do. What I can tell you is what I'm doing. Right now, there's at least 5, 6 pieces I have in motion right now to make sure that my business and personally and professionally are good for at least the next 5 years. They're already in motion. They're written down on my index cards. So y'all can play around if you want. But if you really want to have your vision come to life, you got to have the system in place to make sure that it's sturdy enough to stay. As many things that I'm proud of that I've done, there's still some places where I see some cracks in the seams. I'm like, Damon, you got to tighten it up. This is my call to you to tighten it up. Hopefully, with this part of the discussion, we're able to tighten up the financial part of it. Make money online. Best of Dan Brown's Bring Your Worth. Listen, if you wanted more game in that direction, and in fact, I'll link it now that we're talking about it. I'll link it if you're watching this in the future, then it'll pop up on the screen at the end of our conversation. If you're watching it right now, then it'll be in the links below. And of course, in the reruns, it'll pop up later. Make money online. I talk about all the insights, hopefully, that you need to go ahead and make a strong business. Focus on the online component. What about y'all? How do you are you handling the payments to your business? Is it scrap paper? Is it an Excel sheet? Are you using a provider like a Stripe or a Square to track your stuff? Do you hire a CPA? How are you handling your stuff? Talk about it. I would love to hear what your take is. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown, here to help you as a side hustler, solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Work TV live Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe for free. Of course, you can get the complete Bring Your Worth collection, where all books are sold. All fine books are sold, not just any books. All fine books are sold, including, as you know, at DameBrown.net, as we talked about earlier in the episode. Man, I love talking to y'all about the and shout out to Brenda. I don't know why that popped up. And I love talking to y'all about how to sell digital products online and physical. Next, 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 we're going to talk about how to sell your company, not how to sell stuff for your company, how to sell your company, the entity, the intellectual property. I did it once and it was an amazing ride. I know folks that have done it multiple times. In fact, yeah, I guess I've done it more than once, but one big time when I was selling my startup about 10 years ago called Cutler. We're going to talk all about that next. And I cannot wait to send and share some good stuff with y'all, as well as insights, um, thoughts about contracts, how to exit in smart ways to leave your legacy when you've moved on to the next thing. Until next episode, where we can always bring your worth, you can always build from now. Take care of yourselves and others.